Morning, everyone, and welcome to our first meeting of the Judicial Commission on Mental Health for the year. I'm delighted to see all of you today, even though we're all appearing virtually. We appreciate your accommodating the change for our meeting date, which was originally scheduled the week of our winter break that we experienced across Texas. Not a break at all. Hope all of you are doing well and recovering from that, you and your families. On to the business of the commission. As we enter our fourth year, we have a number of commissioners who have rotated off and other new commissioners who are joining us. I'm Justice Jane Bland, my co-chair, Judge Barbara Hervey on the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. We'd like to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to all of those who have served on the inaugural commission. We hope that you will continue to work with us and be an ambassador for the work that we're doing across the state. We also want to thank and welcome members of our collaborative council who are here with us today. We had an interesting call last week. The collaborative council is an important part of our work because we get to hear how things are going from people who are actually working with people who have mental health challenges and encountering our system. And sometimes what we hear is not as encouraging, and then sometimes we hear encouraging stories, but it's important to hear those stories to understand how things are working and where our challenges are on the ground. Since we last met, we've done a lot of work in advancing our mission, which is, as you know, to improve the experience for those with mental health challenges, in particular as they intersect the courts and the judicial system. And that can be from the very inception all the way to perhaps even release from incarceration. We're going to learn more about the projects that we have ongoing here at the JCMH. And in particular, we'll hear more about our legislative proposals, the education that we have that's ongoing, which is a big part of our effort to educate leaders, both among the judiciary and in law enforcement and in county health authorities, about how we can better serve this community. And then we'll talk about some grants that we have made in connection with piloting various projects that we hope will serve as templates for improved offerings in counties across Texas. Judge Hervey and I would like to extend our gratitude to all of you commissioners who have really led these efforts and donated your expertise and your time. In particular, those who served on the Legislative Research Committee, the Senate Bill 362 Work Group, and the Forms Committee, whose work is ongoing. Thank you as well to our Bench Book Committee, who has done marvelous work in providing comprehensive resources for judges who encounter mental health citizens in their courts, and to those who participated in our Judicial Commission on Mental Health Summit, and especially those of you who took the time to plan and present speeches at that summit, which was incredibly well received. And all of you have done impressive work, and we just are really looking forward to hearing more about our projects later in the meeting. For now, I'd like to turn it over to my co-chair and great friend, Judge Barbara Hervey, who's going to talk to us a little bit more about our agenda for today.
Thank you, Justice Bland, and good morning. I appreciate all of you participating today, those who have been with us for a while and all our new people. We really appreciate your attendance. Hopefully it won't be much longer until we can actually meet in person. We'll see how it goes. I'm optimistic, but I want to thank you all for being here today, and I want to thank everybody for participating in our summit that we had last November. It was a huge success. We had over 1,500 attendees, including judges and stakeholders from across Texas and from other parts of the country. The summit report is in tab 7 of your notebook or page 35 of the PDF, and we will hear more from the summit from Judge Carr later today. I'd like to remind you that the CCA, My Court, is updating the Mental Health Resource Guide, and it's a publication with county-specific information regarding mental health and what is available in every county. And it's available on the CCA website. And anybody that can add to our resources, please do. We welcome changes or updates or new things. And you can send that information to mental health resource, all one word, at txcourts.gov. The resource guide is also going to be the source from which we create a resource website. That's an exciting project that we're working on, and that'll be a great thing. It'll be a giant map, and it'll be very helpful. So now please turn to your meeting notebook. You should have received it via email. It's also available on the website, on the JCMH website, texasjcmh.gov. In tab 1 or page 4 of the PDF, you'll find the agenda. Our next planned break, I know those are important, is at 10:30, but feel free to take breaks as you need and hurry back because we'll have a lot of fun things to attend to today. Tab 3 has the minutes from the last meeting, and when you get a chance, if you look those over, if you have any corrections, please let us know. And we will start this morning with introductions of our commissioners. We have a few minutes to hear from each of you. Then we will work our way through the meeting notebook. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Justice Bland. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Harvey. So for just as a reminder, as we go through and kind of say good morning to everyone, if in your upper right corner, you can change the view on Zoom so that you personally, if you'd like to just see the speaker who's speaking, you can change it to speaker view. If you want to see all of us, keep it at gallery view. But as we go through these introductions, it might be helpful to be able to see the speaker more clearly since there are so many of us on today. We do have a few minutes for commissioner introductions. I would say if you could just take a minute or two so that we can hear from everybody and just talk about your reason for being on this commission and share with us any announcements or thoughts that you might have. And to those of you that are new to the commission, welcome, and this will be a chance for us all to get to know you as well. So I'm going to start off with our wonderful Vice Chair, Justice Bill Boyce, who's been an integral part of the commission since its inception and has really offered incredible leadership, especially on the legislative front, but also in just his deep understanding from his service on many organizations involving mental health, including chairing a board in Houston, and in addition to his incredible law practice. So I don't know how he makes time for it, but he does, and does such marvelous work. So good morning, Justice Boyce.
Thank you, Justice Bland, and good morning. Thank you to everyone for participating today. It's generally a good practice to give some time back to the court, so I'm going to try to do that this morning with just a brief introduction. As Justice Bland mentioned, I've been involved in this commission and its precursors going back to 2016. I think the basis of my participation overlaps with the basis for the participation of everyone who is involved in this worthwhile project. And that is a recognition that the courts and the justice system frequently become the places where unaddressed mental health needs have to be addressed. How can we do that better? How can we channel things in a more positive, productive, and helpful direction for everybody who's involved? That is the short version, but I think our time is better spent this morning by particularly hearing from some of our new commissioners. And so with that, I'll wrap it up.
Okay, great. Thank you, Justice Boyce. And now Dr. Connie Almeida from the Fort Bend County Behavioral Health Services.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be part of this commission. This is really a great honor and opportunity. So a little bit about myself. I'm a licensed psychologist and have been a licensed specialist in school psychology, and I've been working in public systems for 35 years with people with IDD, dual diagnosis, co-occurring disorders, and obviously mental illness. My work with the courts actually started about 15 years ago, specifically with the infant toddler court. So working with young children that were involved in CPS. And so I had the opportunity to work with Judge Helms, Judge Pope in Fort Bend County, and several other judges throughout the state of Texas. But really, that really started my work with the courts that, of course, expanded into, jail diversion initiatives, mental health courts. And this really is my passion about, bringing people together and creating systems to get people to the right care, keep them out of jail, and support reintegration and reunification. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Camille Kane from the Texas Juvenile Justice Department. Camille, did you, I might have cut myself off. Are you on the line? All right. Judge Corey Carlisle, who's an appellate justice on the Fifth Court of Appeals in Dallas.
Good morning. Yes, we at the appellate court level, of course, don't see a ton of the nuts and bolts day-to-day intersection of this mental health with our cases, but I developed a passion and interest as a practitioner, primarily in the District of Columbia, dealing with numerous clients and helping them through the mental health courts there, and watching people succeed and change was really inspiring, and watching people not succeed was really that was fascinating too. So I primarily come from the practitioner side on this, and I really look forward to learning and working to make Texas the top of the country on this issue. So I appreciate the opportunity to participate. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Justice Carlisle. And now Judge Brent Carr, who, let me just say, has been an incredible leader, both in chairing our efforts, our legislative efforts, but also in educating judges and seeking improvements, for example, in our model rules, our judicial conduct rules that will facilitate the kind of work that is done in mental health treatment courts. So Judge Carr, are you here?
I am. Thank you, Judge.
Good morning.
I'm very honored to have an opportunity to participate in this commission. I started a mental health program in 2003, and I'm involved in 4 local specialty courts. Now these have become my passion. Mental health is such a big part of the criminal justice system, and culture change is a process, and I've been around long enough to see when there was a lot of great concern, but not a lot of organized advancement towards achieving better understanding and coordination as we deal with many of the situations that come before us. So I'm very thankful that we have this commission, and I anticipate as the years go by, we are going to see that is going to play a huge role in making the process of all the systems that we deal with, children, civil, criminal, much better, much fairer, and we will be proud of the work that we have done. Thank you.
All right, Judge Francisco Dominguez from El Paso, who is tentative. So if you are here, love to hear from you. Okay. Judge Camille DeBose. Judge DeBose has been from Uvalde County. She has been the leader of our bench book project and our judicial education efforts in providing those kinds of comprehensive resources to our judges. So welcome, Judge DeBose.
Thank you, Justice Bland. Hi, can you hear me? Okay, great. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm thrilled to see everyone. And first, let me say that the bench book is definitely a collaborative effort, and there's been some really bright and hardworking people that have assisted in that, much more than me. And if you want to know, please look in the pages that tell you all the people who put in their hard work on that product, because it was hard work and they put in a lot of time and effort. I am a general jurisdiction judge in the 38th Judicial District, which is in Uvalde County. Is the home county, and it also covers Real County. The population of Real County is about 3,500 people, and Uvalde County is about 27,000. So we are definitely a rural court. Prior to that, I was an associate judge with the Child Protective Services courts. And coming into the general jurisdiction part of my career, it became evident to me how large a role mental health needs play in those who appear before me in the criminal docket. So I have a post-adjudication felony mental health court, which is really one of the brightest spots in my work life. I love what we do, and it's a definite need that's out there. And I appreciate all the efforts that the Commission is putting forth in order to assist those who appear before me on that docket and in the court system as a whole. Thanks.
Thank you, Judge DeBose. And now Dr. Melissa Eshelman from the University of Texas Counseling and Mental Health Center.
Good morning, everybody. I am pleased to be participating in the commission. I'm a psychiatrist, and I'm in charge of psychiatric services on the UT Austin campus for all our students. In addition to being an adult psychiatrist, I'm also a child psychiatrist and also board certified in forensic psychiatry. Have a lot of experience working in inpatient, outpatient, emergency room settings, working with police and with the chronically mentally ill as well. I'm very much looking forward. I'm also past president of the Texas Society for Psychiatric Physicians, where our mission is to improve the lives of individuals who are actively involved in mental health services and those who may need to be involved. So I think this perfectly fits within both my background as well as the organization that represents psychiatrists in the state of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I realize just how many demands on your time you must have and have had over the last year helping a university population cope with the pandemic. So thank you for lending your time to us today. David Evans with Integral Care.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to be have this opportunity to serve with the commission. These issues that you've been discussing and progressive change and moving forward, we live and breathe these issues every day on the ground here in Austin. My real interest, I think, was not only through the good work that you're doing, but Christy Taylor came out a little over a year ago and toured our services. And what a compelling story that she told regarding your work. And I think I was hooked on that day. For me, this is a continuation in terms of maybe viewing that we're halfway there, you know, really being proud of the work completed to date, but to try to get to full access, best practices, the right balance of services, and why not here in Austin? Sorry, Wayne. So just a couple of things. I had an opportunity to serve as staff in New York City as part of the consulting on the Willowbrook Review Panel starting in the 70s. This was a 6,000 bed Staten Island facility in which it came under a class action and court order to provide least restrictive and freedom from harm services in its eventual closure in 1987. Also served with addressing in Louisiana a case called the Texas Children's Case, in which hundreds of children were in private facilities in Texas, and the court ordered their return home in foster care, small group homes, and an arrangement within a system of care. And I also want to mention that I had an opportunity in the state of Nebraska, in which I took a job in which the state was also under a court order with their state facilities to provide improved quality of services. And one of my best days was in court in Omaha, when we were released from under that court order from having achieved compliance and a higher quality of care for individuals. Just a couple of notes. We've recently begun with the Austin Police Department in having our clinicians embedded in the 911 call center, and then co-responding and dispatching mobile crisis outreach teams. Sheriff Hernandez is on our board, and her work not only as our sheriff, opportunities and looking at the sequential intercept model, and our work with clinicians in the jail, planned reentry, and then an area that's been a real weakness for us in working with probation and parole to be sure there's not reoffense and reincarceration here in Travis County. And then lastly, just the leadership that we have in the work with Judge Needles and her behavioral health criminal justice advisory committee, really tackling key points for change. So I think the opportunity to serve with you and the work with the commission, I want to try to import every bit of it as rapidly as possible for planned change in Travis County.
Thank you so much, David. Now we're going to hear from Dr. Tony Fabello, who has been instrumental in nudging the courts and counties toward becoming more data-driven so that we can test what we're doing and see if we can improve outcomes. And the pace is not as fast as he would like it to be, but he gave us an excellent presentation to the commission last year. I'll also note, just in corresponding with him this week, he autocorrects from Dr. Fabello to Dr. Fabulous. So isn't that great? So good morning, Dr. Fabello.
Good morning, Judge Bland. Good to talk to you this week. Thank you for the intro. Yeah, I'm still trying to see how we implement the law that we passed in 1993 during the reform dealing with the screening and assessment of people going through jail. So yes, like you told me, Nicole, it did not take from one day to be built. So I'm trying to do that and build some of this stuff, working with the counties. We also have new initiative coming up with the Pew Charitable Trust. I know John Petrila is here. He may want to comment on that, where we're going to try to incentivize the better use of law enforcement and multidisciplinary response teams to try to divert people from the jail to treatment in the community. All very complex things, and I appreciate your intro, because yes, I'm in the trenches trying to make things work, trying to come up with the numbers, and I'm getting less frustrated than before because I'm older. So my life horizon is a lot shorter. So I don't have to think what's going to happen 30 years from now, because I'll be gone by then. So I'm just trying to go step by step. But I appreciate being here. I was here since the beginning, and I'll help you any way I can. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fabello. I forgot to mention that the good doctor is with the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute.
Yes.
All right, Elise Ferguson, Collin County Mental Health Managed Council.
Good morning.
Is it Elise or is it something else?
It's Elise, yes.
Good, okay.
So I began my career in mental health straight out of college, working for a local MHMR, and worked my way up in all those positions, ultimately becoming director of home and community services before I left there. And while at the time, mental health wasn't in my career path, it continued to follow me wherever I went. And so I went on to work for probation and ended up with the mental health caseload. And then as a lawyer, started seeing more and more mental health cases. And then this job came up at Collin County, allowing me to manage our indigent defense program, specifically mental health cases, and work with our community in the jail. And through that, I've been able to work as an instructor for the police departments and develop relationships with our community CIT programs and become involved with those. I also serve as the mental health chair for the Texas Criminal Defense Lawyers Association and work very closely for Texas CIT. And in fact, we have a conference coming up, if anybody's interested, in April, the 8th through the 10th in Amarillo. So we're really excited about getting to collaborate and work more. And so I guess mainly my goal right now is to continue to work on collaborative efforts and bringing people together, mostly in our community, to work to resolve problems and think outside the box instead of sticking with our very rigid instructions on how we have to do things.
That's terrific. And our hope is through collaboration across the state that when you develop those kinds of programs, we have a platform for you to share them and share them with others, share the successes and also the things that didn't work so well. So thank you very much for being here. And next is Sonia Gaines, who's the Deputy Executive Commissioner for Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities and Behavioral Health for the Texas Commission on Health and Human Services. Thank you so much, Director Gaines, for being here, or Commissioner. I guess it's Director.
You can call me Sonia.
Well, it's good to see you, and we're glad you're here.
Thank you. And I'm so pleased to be able to continue to work with the Commission. A lot of great things have happened over the last 4 years. You know, it's something that everyone should be very, very proud of. In the role that I have at HHSC, I have responsibility and oversight for community mental health services, as well as IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities, and substance use services. In addition to that, also have responsibility for the mental health coordination area. And I know Dr. Harvey's on the commission now, so I'm going to let her talk a little bit about that. But there's a lot of exciting things that have been going on here at HHSC, and I'm really pleased about some of the work that's been done in our area of forensic services. Dr. Simpson leads that area and has done a tremendous job. Most recently, she has led a initiative to do a statewide a sequential intercept model. And we've had over 150 people participate, well represented in terms of the judiciary, our local mental health authorities and local behavioral health authorities, as well as people with a lived experience. That was really a great initiative that took place back in January. We think we're going to get some really great information from that. Also, Dr. Simpson is leading up a forensic strategic plan that we're about to get started on. And so we're very excited about that, and to get a lot of feedback from many of you that are on the commission and you know, what your thoughts and feedback might be. Some other news that I think is noteworthy is that we most recently expanded our outpatient competency restoration program, and we actually invested a little over $1 million in that initiative. So we're expanding from 13 sites to 18 sites. And I think all of you that are on the commission recognize the value of people you know, being served in the community versus having to go to state hospitals. So the better job we can do with having those services available in the community, I think it will be really, really great. I think most of you guys are familiar with the diversion programs we have, as well as Senate Bill 292 that allowed us to focus on projects across the state, you know, for individuals that were justice involved. So there's a lot of great things that continue at the commission through a lot of, you know, the contracts that we have with our both our local mental health authorities and other nonprofits in terms of, you know, shaping the service delivery system. One other resource I want to mention, we also have some really cool web-based resources that I think are going to be really a huge benefit to all Texans. Most recently, we launched a website for folks that, to get more information about opioid use, and it's called txopioidresponse.org. So that's a tremendous resource that many of you could benefit from, and also mentalhealthtx.org. And that one is one that was recently revamped, and now it's in 64 languages. So I really want everyone to write that down and take advantage of those resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Gaines, who has been partnering with the commission since the beginning, and we really appreciate all your leadership and your efforts to coordinate with us, all the great work you do. Judge Hervey and I were both delighted to attend a program on the sequential intercept model led by HHSC and Dr. Jenny Simpson, who Commissioner Gaines mentioned, and it was informative and a great opportunity to find out more about the work that's being done over there, and how we can better coordinate that work in the judiciary. And so next, we have come to realize, as we've all collaborated, just how important peer support is at various I guess you would say, if I was going to be like my millennial daughter, inflection points of our work. And so we were delighted to welcome Kevin Garrett to our commission as our peer support expert. And I also heard that he recently passed the bar, and want to say congratulations if that's true.
Thank you, Justice Bland. I am the former Hogg Foundation Peer Policy Fellow at the Texas Jail Project, where I worked on forensic populations being held, as well as other special populations being held inside of one of Texas's 240 county jail facilities. While at Texas Jail Project, I was appointed to the State Bar of Texas's Disability Issues Committee, where I now serve as vice chair of that committee. I am also the chair of the mental health subcommittee that was newly formed when I started there. During the pandemic and in the final months of my fellowship, I was granted a waiver by the Texas Board of Law Examiners that allowed me to sit for the Texas Bar, and as Justice Bland just mentioned, I passed. The basis of my involvement here in this committee is that of a person with a lived experience. So I'm truly honored to be able to bring that perspective into this. I can definitely say that 30 years ago, when I was going through that cycle, if you will, there was nothing like this that was really going on. And if a person had any kind of mental illness or anything like that, unless they were showing very, very acute symptoms like suicidal ideation or, responding to internal stimuli, they just got a generic diagnosis and we all got placed in general population. So I can definitely attest to some of the things that have already previously been mentioned about getting this population back into the community, because that's where I was able to get my personal recovery, and I've seen time and time again in my professional life that is the best place for this population, not the jails and certainly not the courts. As a person with lived experience, again, it's my honor to serve here, as I anticipate that in a post-pandemic community, as we all began to come back to work and everything, I anticipate that we're probably going to see these numbers rise. So it'll be time for us to roll up our sleeves and really get down to work with this. But it is really an honor to be here, and I'm happy to serve in any capacity that you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and congratulations. That's just terrific news for us all to share. I know everyone is really happy for you. That's great. Okay, and now Dr. Courtney Harvey, also with HHSC. She's the Associate Commissioner of the Office of Mental Health Coordination there. And as Sonia mentioned, she's got, she leads efforts to coordinate services. And so we're delighted to have her with us as well.
Thank you very much, Justice Bland. Yes, I currently serve as the Associate Commissioner for the Health and Human Services Commission's Office of Mental Health Coordination. We're a very large organization, so administratively, I'll say that I direct report to Sonia Gaines. I also serve as the Mental Health Statewide Coordinator and Chair of the Statewide Behavioral Health Coordinating Council, to which the high courts are members. I've worked in the mental health industry for 14 years now, nearly 8 of which have been for Health and Human Services and variations of their behavioral health services departments. I've had the luxury of interning at a state-supported living center, working with individuals who were on forensic commitment, working for a local mental health authority through a Takumi program, working for a private psychiatric hospital, working as a court officer for adult probation. And so pairing that on the ground experience with working for Health and Human Services, I think has truly given me a unique perspective on the complexities of serving individuals with behavioral health needs, particularly those that are justice involved. I'm honored to have been selected to serve on the Judicial Commission on Mental Health, and I want to work with you to continue to identify gaps in policy and services for this population, to identify solutions, but beyond just identifying those gaps and solutions, to actually implement the change. And so thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Doctor. And now we'll hear from Judge Bonnie Helens, who when I joined the state court trial bench in 1997, she was a leader in the Harris County Judiciary, and she has only continued that leadership throughout the decades. And we're really delighted to have her her perspective and her work on our commission. Judge Helens.
And it has been decades and decades and decades. They continue to mound on me. I don't know how that happened. I never intended to do what I'm doing. I ended up working, my first jobs were at the University of Houston, head of women's housing. Then I went to Rice University and I was the dean of students there. And I taught human sexuality, and that was handy. But in the meantime, I also had become a advanced addiction counselor and a licensed marriage and family therapist. So the therapy was my route to begin with. Then I went to law school. Then I practiced law for 10 years. And then I was a judge in the family court for 20 years in Houston. And then I very quickly became a retirement failure and have become active with the Harris Center for Mental Health and IDD. Wayne's in this group. I could have seen his cute picture. And I'm their program chair. And because of that, I got appointed then to do the Texas Council for Community Centers. And from that, they sent me to the Collaborative Council with you guys. And so that was how I sort of ended up getting my pathway back to you all. It has my name up there as Judge Helms because I don't know how to change it, but I'm serving as a judge right now. Again, I'm filling in for one of my mentees who just had a baby. And so I am doing court work pretty much for the couple of months, and it's great fun, but it also is very disconcerting. One of the other positions that I have been appointed to by the governor was the chair of the advisory board for DFPS. And so that's a considerable amount of concern and wear and trying to get those meetings going, and even, you know, doing the virtual stuff is, and Dr. Almeida is on that board as well. So we're having an opportunity to collaborate there. My big concern is the, I also started the infants and toddlers court and the drug court in Houston and in 2004, and it's still going. And in fact, that's one of the courts that I'm getting to see again now, sitting for Judge Griffith, because she took over the court. So I'm getting to see my old drug court again and work with them. My big concern that I see now that I just am I don't know what else to, there are two things I'm working on a whole lot. One is fighting sex trafficking. because that is so huge in Texas. And we've got several things going. We just had NTZ, the no trafficking zone, named for NRG Stadium. We were the first stadium in the world to recognize sex trafficking. And so it's made a huge difference there. But I am so concerned with trauma. Probably 95% of the cases that I have seen, these kids have had 10, 15, 20 placements for CPS. And it's all because of trauma. You know, when they're tearing up the place and throwing stuff, so anyway, I had fortunately through the Children's Commission had gotten some training, and I'm just hell bent to get that across the state with people, anybody who touches these kids, understanding trauma. So anyway, that's enough. Thank you.
Well, you know, if only you weren't so lazy.
Well, I'm delighted to be serving with you guys because I know a bunch of you, and I'm so tickled to be with you because I feel like it's another opportunity for us to accomplish some stuff. And the bench book is just awesome. So anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate you asking me to be with you.
It used to be in Harris County, the slogan, the tagline was "Give them hell, hellums," and it's still true. Okay, next we'll hear from Judge Dave Jan from Denton County, the Denton County Probate Court. I just want to thank him personally. He has been taking the laboring oar along with some others, and he's leading the effort for forms in connection with our 362 project. And so I think we may hear a little bit about that later in the meeting, but I hope to say good morning to Judge Jan.
Thank you, Justice Bland. I was very honored to have been asked to participate as a collaborative advisor, collaborative council member back at the inception of this committee, or commission rather, and have really appreciated the opportunity to participate in several of the subcommittees and groups, especially the Senate Bill 362 committee. My background was as a prosecutor prior to becoming the associate probate judge here in Denton. I've also been very active in the veterans community here in Denton as a prior service individual myself. My involvement in mental health and how I've really started branching out into more of the collaborative and stakeholder aspect of it was with the Denton County Behavioral Health Leadership Team when we started working on jail diversion options maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I just have to say that there's several members of the commission that the networking and collaborative cooperation for some of them. Dr. Harvey was the first person I met when I walked in the door down in Austin the first time several years ago. And I don't know how many times over the last 3 or 4 years I've emailed her some random weird question and gotten a response from just about everybody that works for HHSC to try and help solve those problems. I'm really looking forward to serving as a full commissioner and excited to see the direction we take over the next 2 years or so. And as another shout out to somebody on the commission, I'm not sure who, gave my name to a mental health judge in England who emailed me right in the middle of the Isageddon or whatever we're calling the rolling blackouts. There's Professor Shannon raising his hand. So whatever we're doing, the judge over in England wanted to know how we were handling mental health court by Zoom and what we thought about the ramifications of that. So that was a pretty interesting exchange with somebody overseas. So the work that the commission is doing has expanded even further than I thought, but I look forward to continuing service with the commission.
Well, wonderful. We're so glad to have you. And next, Judge Oscar Kazin, also probate court judge in Bexar County.
Hey guys, I do apologize. I'm going to do my my glamour shot instead here. I am having really bad signal. However, I want to thank you so much for letting me be part of this. As you know, mental health is near and dear to me, as well as all of the therapeutic courts. I was privileged and honored to have been one of the first in Bexar County to have started a therapeutic court along with Judge Spisha way back, I think in 2003 or 4, somewhere there. And I hope to bring my experience as a criminal court judge, as a mental health court judge, and as a probate judge to bear. And if I can do anything for you all, I think most of the people or many of the people on this call I've worked with or collaborated with in the past. I'm honored that you've asked me to be part of this. And I thank you. And most of you have my phone. You know how to get a hold of me. If I can help in any way, please do not hesitate to ask.
Well, welcome, Judge. We're so glad you're here. Next, someone who also has been working with the commission since its inception, Dr. Andrew Keller, who's the CEO of the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute.
Well, thanks, Justice Bland, and thanks to you and Judge Hervey and the court for reappointing me. It's an honor to be here, and it is wonderful to see how much progress and how many interconnections, and Christy and the team, you all really deserve a lot of credit for that. I'm going to be brief. I actually just want to call attention to three things. One is that some of you may have seen yesterday, and I'm going to put the link up here in a second to chat once I'm done talking, because I can't really do that and talk at the same time. SAMHSA just released the first tranche of additional money for the pandemic for mental health and substance use disorders yesterday. And Texas will have about $200 million coming in the first tranche for additional substance use disorder treatment and mental health treatment that will go out to HHSC contractors through the normal block grant means. And I know Deputy Executive Commissioner Gaines and her team have been getting ready for this and have a great plan with their folks, but it's something you all should be thinking about. And I also want you to keep in mind too, that there's going to be additional tranches of dollars coming to your local communities if you live in larger counties, both your municipalities and your counties, in the billions of dollars. And you are allowed to do mental health and substance use disorder stuff with that. So be sure you are pinging your county commissioners and city officials about how important you believe this is, because this is a tremendous place where the influence of this court can be used, or this commission can be used in your courts and your other means. There's going to be another $75 million coming to Texas in another tranche. There's going to be millions of dollars of additional grants going. There's going to be additional certified community behavioral health centers starting up across the state. So we have never had more resources. The biggest risk, I think, is we will not spend them. So please help us do that. And I also wanted to say too, I'm going to put up on the screen too, I've been part of a national group working to advise, provide guidance and advice to sort of a group of the NGOs who are working nationally on these issues. We released a vision statement at the end of December of where we think the best opportunities are to get upstream and to try to realize a vision where one day we are not giving people their first mental health diagnoses in jails or in detention centers for youth, but instead in health facilities. So I'm going to share that link as well with folks. I would encourage you to look at that, because the vision there is one. And I just want to also then reiterate one last thing and say a little bit more on it, that the fabulous Dr. Fabello said earlier, who likes to pretend sometimes, by the way, that he works for me, and that's not at all true. He just happens to get a paycheck through our organization for his awesome independent work in this world. But he talked about this this project we're doing with the Pew Foundation. I'm really excited about this, because this is about taking the awesome work that's going to be done with 988, to create sort of a separate crisis care line and integrate that with 911, so people don't have to remember when they're in an emergency that they need to call a different number. And Dr. Evans, who spoke earlier, my friend David, he talked about, they're doing some great stuff there in Austin. And this Pew grant is really to focus on states that are leading in the integration of upfront diversion, because that's really what we want. We don't want anybody in your courts. I mean, there will be some people in your courts with mental illness because bad people, or not bad people, people do bad things with all sorts of illnesses, but we don't want them there to get their first diagnosis. The hope, by the way, is that what will happen is with this integration, when we call 911, the same thing will happen that happened when my wife and I called 911 with our second child, when he was coming much more quickly than we had wanted him to. So we called 911 and they didn't send the police. They sent an ambulance, and that ambulance got us to the hospital. And they never once asked us if we wanted to go to jail or if we thought we needed to have a police officer there. And the overwhelming majority of people with mental illness, when they are in crisis, are not posing a threat to anybody. They just need health care. And that's really the vision, and that's why we're so excited the commission's here, and Justice Bland and Judge Hervey and all of your colleagues. Thank you so much for your leadership on this.
Thank you, Dr. Keller, and please give our regards to Justice Harriet O'Neill, who's very involved at the Meadows Foundation. And we would not be here except that, a couple decades ago, Justice O'Neill understood the power to convene that the judiciary has, and she founded the Children's Commission, which was the first effort of the courts to try to collaborate and find best practices and best policies. And then she went on to found the Texas Access to Justice Commission. And really working off of those templates, it was the Texas Supreme Court and the Court of Criminal Appeals for the first time are jointly collaborating on JCMH. We could not have done it without all of the work, all of the groundwork that Justice O'Neill had laid for us. And she also was one of the inaugural commissioners of this commission, and you know, shared her thoughts and expertise. So give her our thanks. Next is Adrienne Kennedy, who's works both in Texas and nationally for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Adrienne? I know she's here. I saw her on the screen.
Yeah, I just had to, I didn't know whether I was automatically to take myself off mute. Here we go. Very good. Thank you so much, Justice Bland, and thank you, Judge Hervey. Thank you for my reappointment for another round in the commission. I consider you all supremely important mentors in my life and in the work that NAMI is doing both in Texas and also that NAMI is doing at the national level. I have a smaller portfolio this year at the national level because I am now in the place of immediate past president. This allows me lots of focus and latitude in the topics that are nearest and dearest and strongest in my heart and the things I really want to pursue. In doing that, and because frankly of the leadership that the Texas Judicial Commission has shown and the Texas Judiciary has mounted these huge investments of time and energy and focus, we have established at the national level in NAMI the Criminal Justice Study Group, and this study group has actually has our CEO Dan Gillison participating as well, and as well as board members, one who is a judge in Ohio, another person who is a director with the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, and another who's a retired police officer with 2 decades of experience. So we're really looking at the criminal justice space and taking a lot of cues from what, in fact, the Texas Judicial Commission and the judiciary has worked so hard to do. I want to really give a huge shout out to the strides that I've made in my, that you've helped me make in my own learning. I think that this is a huge learning curve for us all. As Dr. Keller mentioned, we are very, very proud of to have NAMI be one of the participants in this 14-group consortium statement about the unified vision to improve mental health and substance use care. I think this is hugely important to see the level of collaboration that is coming to this work, and that gives us a leadership momentum that across the country, but also it helps us regionally and statewide as well to underscore these things. The other thing that I want to really emphasize, and many of you have spoken to this, we want to get upstream on these issues and illnesses as quickly and as dynamically as we possibly can. And so part of NAMI's national strategic plan has embedded, early intervention, early identification, and early support for young families and family caregivers, and also, frankly, intercepts for the judicial and justice-involved young people. So I'm going to be leaning on a lot of the people that have just spoken this morning to learn more and more about how we can be most effective from a NAMI organization. And also then the second pillar of our strategic plan is best care and the best practices. Obviously, Dr. Falbello knows that data drives, or should be driving a lot of how we make choices and and David Evans spoke to this as well. So, and then the last is a pillar in our NAMI strategic plan nationally is criminal justice, jail diversion, and also taking a really close look, as many of you have mentioned, to the sequential intercept model. I want to really say that the training that I was able to be invited to with the sequential intercept model with the PSA, the Policy Research Associates, PRA, and also with the work that Dr. Jenny Simpson has done in bringing the forensic perspectives is very important to us. So I'm very grateful. Thank you. And welcome to all the brand new commissioners. I'm very excited to get to meet you and work with you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Justice Bland. Thanks.
Thank you, Adrienne. Okay, Beth Lawson with Star Care Specialty Health System.
Thank you so much, Justice Bland and Judge Hervey. I'm a returning commissioner from the inaugural commission. I had the honor of being privy to watching the vision for this commission come to reality under the leadership of Justice Boyce. I have to really give a shout out to Justice Bill Boyce. He has been instrumental in my understanding of the judiciary. I will tell you that my responsibility is threefold, and that is first as a learner. We know a lot about a lot in the local mental health world, but we know little about everything else. And so I'm first a learner. And second, I'm an educator. I'm here to help educate anyone who needs to know how things are contracted, how services are delivered, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, I'm an advocate. I am an advocate for people who receive services from us. At StarCare Specialty Health System, we are the local authority for mental health, intellectual disabilities, and also substance use disorder. I'm an accidental expert in criminal justice involved services, and that's because we provide so many services in tandem with our criminal justice system in Lubbock and the surrounding areas. I'm really excited to be returning commissioner. I welcome my local authority counterparts who are joining as well. Shelley Smith out of West Texas and Wayne Young out of the Harris County area. With the three of us, you get the small, medium, and large. We're here. Shelley serves 23 counties, but some of the counties that we serve out here in West Texas, as the judge said earlier, have 2,700 people in them. And so that's no small feat. So thank you for allowing me to be here. I tend toward the healthcare policy and finance sides of the house. That's sometimes what I can bring to the table, but more than anything, it's a willingness to work hard and to be a part of something that's really, really evolutionary and good. So thank you for having me again.
Thank you so much, Beth. And I like, is it hope that's on the behind you, the word behind you? That's awesome, as we are all hopeful returning to in-person gatherings and lots of other things. Okay, next, Major Mike Lee, also a returning commissioner from the Harris County Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, everybody. First, being a native Houstonian, I have to give a shout out to our, there's a lot of cons to living in Houston, our flooding, the heat, but one of the big pros is that we have the greatest medical center in the world. About 18 hours ago, I was in an operating room at Methodist for an old neck injury. So I'm very happy to be with y'all this morning. So I do give a shout out to our medical center. Also give a great shout out to this commission. I'm very happy to be, to have been invited back for a second term. Give a shout out also to Judge Boyce for meeting with me one morning at Harry's restaurant and tell me about what this commission was going to accomplish. And so thank you, Judge Boyce, for inviting me at the very beginning. I've always, in my 31-year career, I'm now chief over law enforcement for Harris County Sheriff's Office. And during my 30-year career, probably 20 years of those, I've had an interest in mental health and the interactions between the mental health system and law enforcement and how we can improve those processes. And especially an interest in how we can improve the responses to the first line responders and persons in mental health crisis. And also how Dr. Keller, spoke about how we can reduce even the serious interactions or even having the police respond in the first place. Just real quickly, a couple of things that I'll highlight that in Harris County are what we call our CORE program, which is our Clinician Officer Remote Evaluation. That's a telehealth program that started out as a pilot last year with 20 deputies that carry iPads that have direct linkage to mental health clinicians in their patrol car. That was funded for 1 year and studied by U of H and the Arnold Foundation. It was just recently funded again by Commissioner's Court on March 1st. It is now expanded to 150 deputies in the Sheriff's Office that carry these iPads out in the field. And we are also rolling out with 100 constables in Harris County. And it wouldn't be possible without our great partnership with the Harris Center under Wayne Young's leadership. We're we're very lucky to have a great relationship with our district attorney's office and the work that Denise Onken, that's also on the commission, does. And then also just we're working very closely with our Justice Administration Department, which is a fairly new department out of Commissioner's Court. They just received funding this year at the tune of $5 million to work. We're all working together to start a non-law enforcement response program that will, as as Dr. Keller was mentioning about how we intercept calls at the point of 911, send non-law enforcement responders to these situations. Very excited about that. We hope to have that pilot up and running by late summer, and very excited about that. So that's a little bit about what's going on here in Harris County, and happy to be here with all of you this morning.
Thank you, Major Lee. And obviously it's a testament to his commitment that 18 hours post-surgery, he's on this call with us, but take good care of yourself. We want you for the long haul. So don't do everything the doctor says to do. So
thank you. I'll fade out every now and then and turn off my camera. That's probably
okay, good. Judge Elizabeth Leonard from Midland County. She here? Okay. Pam Liston from the Rowlett Municipal Court.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm thrilled to be here. I have loved everything I've heard so far. It's just got me fired up. So I'm a municipal court judge. I've been practicing law for almost 30 years now. Professor Shannon, in fact, was one of my professors at Texas Tech School of Law. And I've got just diverse practice background. I've got diverse family background. I'm the mother of 4 children, all grown. 3 degrees in economics, astrophysics, mechanical engineering, and 1 current college student. So I mean, it is a full-on situation in my household and also in my practice. So Rowlett is a medium volume city, which means that I do everything. It's not low volume such that I don't have very much experience in certain areas, or high volume such that I'm compartmentalized into only one area of service. And the reason I bring this up is because I get the full range of experience of the population, and I see boots on ground what is going on with people, and particularly this vulnerable Texan population that we're talking about in service on this commission. I've been a judge for 10 years, but I've been in municipal court world for 25 years, and my varied background is local, it's state, and it's federal. I had a federal practice as well. So I'm in my daily world dealing with the statutes. I'm dealing with 1622. I'm dealing with 17032 on a daily routine basis. I'm dealing with the interfaces and the lack of transport, availability for somebody with a mental illness, for example. These kind of really clear cracks and crevices in the statutes that create gaps in service. So that's what I can really offer to the commission, is practical, real experience. I'm also a bit of a nerd. Probably most of us could claim that, as far as the law and reading the law and caring about how the law is applied. So I've got a lot of law practice and knowledge to give as well. But I think where my strength comes in is really the boots on ground. I'm kind of like the infantry of the courts. I'm kind of like that first line dealing with people, and I love this work and I love doing that. I mean, I am committed. I get somebody in here and I will work all day on the problem in hopes that it turns out right at the end of the day. And sometimes it takes me 8 hours to get somebody placed, or even starting down the path of being placed appropriately. So I thank you so much for my invitation to be able to serve with you all. I am honored and I'm ready to contribute. I work hard and I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you, Judge Liston. And we're going to go back to Judge Leonard, Elizabeth Leonard from Midland, who I did not give enough time. Sorry about that, to unmute. She's here.
I didn't try. I'm sorry. That was my fault. Justice Bland, Judge Harvey, thank you all so much for the invitation. It's great to be here. This is my first term as a commissioner, so I am enjoying getting to hear from everybody. I'm a general jurisdiction judge, and I started a mental health court back in 2013. Again, like Judge DuBose, it is primarily a post-adjudication felony court. And it's been interesting because over the last few years, as the legislature's passed stuff, as we have gotten more funding, we are a recipient of 292 grant money. And we were able to start a jail-based restoration of competency program, sorry. And, you know, I really encourage jurisdictions who are not doing this to please look into it. Even if you save a few people from going to the state hospital I think Sonia Gaines or someone said it's $596 a day to send them. It's really a good thing, and it's good for them that they don't have to wait in jail for an extended period of time. We're also doing work with our pretrial bonding program, setting bond terms, looking at the 1622 assessments, and then doing some accountability with the folks that are out on bond through our mental health court. Midland County has 4 general jurisdiction judges. 2 of them are new, less than 6 months. So what we have all decided as a group is if there is a suggestion of incompetency, or if there is any kind of mental health issue that is identified early, then I handle all the hearings, whether it be suggestion of incompetency, a final hearing on that report, set it for status hearings, and try and get them pled out and moved. And I found that it is really a lot easier if that is consolidated with one judge, especially with the jail population, because if they aren't, if they are not competent in jail, we'll also run a competency docket every other week. And I really want to give a shout out to Judge DuBose on her work from the bench book. I saw Denise Onken on this. Y'all did a book for TDCAA. Oh my gosh, since I'm doing most of Midland County here, those forms have really been helpful. And to Brian Shannon, your book has been a go-to for Midland County. So thank you all for making my job easier.
Thank you, Judge Leonard. And now we'll hear from the last of our trio of HHSC partners, and the Deputy Executive Commissioner for Health and Specialty Care, and also working with the commission since its inception, Mike Maples.
Well, good morning. And yeah, I really appreciate being appointed again to the committee. I did want to give you all I've presented data to you, and we've talked about a number of things, and thanks to this commission, and I think the spotlight on numerous things have resulted in some change. As you all know, last session and earlier when we first began, we talked about, you know, some of the things that were occurring about commitments to the 46Bs, and certain people were having to be committed if they committed a certain crime to our maximum security unit. And we worked together and talked about really that needed to be a clinical decision, and not necessarily just because of the crime you committed did you need to go to maximum security. So Senate Bill 562 was passed. I'm happy to say that it's been effective to date. We are able to divert about 19% to 20% of the folks who are committed. We review them, they're committed to the MSU, and we review them clinically by our forensic specialists who make the determination, and been able to divert close to 20% of them to other facilities and speed up their admission. And so that's a great success and an issue that we brought up, and I know this committee worked with on us as well. We also talked a lot about what I called the 365 group, the number of people. About a third of our capacity is taken up with people who've been there over a year. And work has been done. We've had Commissioner Gaines and I and our teams have worked together and partnered with 2 local mental health authorities to create step-down units to help free up capacity for that long-term residents of the hospital. We also just, on the forensic side, our staff just published in the Journal of Forensic Psychiatry and Psychology a study of what's the average time, or what's the expected time to restoration we have some people that are lingering in our system on a 46B for years and years and years. And we've done some work, and the majority of folks restore within a year, or not, or 2/3 within 2 years. So it kind of gives us some guidance and some more work to do to say, at what point do we need to look at converting their 46B to a civil commitment and be able to create for us more options. I think that's really been good work and really helping provide guidance on really what's the expected amount of time they ought to stay with us on a forensic commitment before we make other decisions. I think that's been a good study, and it provide guidance for us. We're looking at providing guidance to our psychologists and others based on that work, and work with the courts too about, at what point do we have to call the question and say, this person's not going to restore, and not kind of get into this years after years after years doing recommitments. I think some other progress that has been made, and I'm really happy about this. I think some of the data I showed you at the beginning of this commission was close to 20% of the people on the waiting list were there for a misdemeanor. And really thinking about, our valuable capacity within the state hospital system being used to restore people to competency for charges of a misdemeanor. That was close to 20%. This month, I've looked at it, the waiting list has come down to about 13% on the waiting list there for accusation of a misdemeanor. I think some of that credit too is to opening up more outpatient competency restoration programs, more work of in-jail restoration, and other work just with the courts and others about really how do we use this resource. I think there's more work to be done on that, and thinking about how do we use the resources that we have. And really lastly, just an update in this session, as you've heard me talk about kind of the redesigning of the state hospital system and the construction, part of our plan as we've been rebuilding hospitals was also adding capacity to the system. Our plan through this legislative appropriations process is to be able to add about 350 beds to the system as the end of a 3 biennial plan with our legislators. In the base bill, 40 of those beds were funded on both the House and Senate, which is great news. It's a forensic unit in San Antonio that we've been remodeling and rebuilding. We still have on the table in our discussions the beds at Harris County, the new Behavioral Science Center there, and the 70-bed new MSU in Kerrville. Those discussions are still very active and very supportive, and we're moving along. And kind of finishing out in this appropriations year is the finishing of the new construction of the Austin State Hospital and San Antonio State Hospital. If you drive around Austin, around 45th and Lamar, you can see construction happening, big crane up in the air. That's happening. We need our last tranche of funding to do that. We've worked with you all about that needed a rebuild of those facilities, and also the capacity expansion of 350 beds, which is great, will help us. But as we've talked about before, just adding beds alone isn't the end of the story. It's a catalyst for discussions as we've had of how we change the way we use our beds. Just adding beds, and we'll fill them up immediately if we don't, as I've talked about on those previous items, change the way we use them. And this group has been very, very helpful in those discussions as the data shows. And I really appreciate being a part of the work that you all are doing and continuing to discuss these policy issues. But great progress on several issues that we brought up, and I really appreciate that. And more work to be done, but obviously this is an action-oriented commission and been very supportive. I'm glad to be back.
Thank you, Commissioner Maples. Next is Dr. Octavio Martinez, who's with the Hogg Foundation for Mental Health, and I think you've heard others on the commission already mention the good work that they do there. Dr. Martinez.
Thank you, Justice Bland, and good morning to everyone, and welcome to the new commissioners. It's really fabulous. I do want to, Justice Bland, also commend the commission itself for recognizing the need for a voice of lived experience. So special congratulations again to Kevin, and also want to commend the great work HHSC is doing, as Mike just talked about, but also Sonia. I think that's just really fabulous. Also, three things, activities that I think I want to share. We are in the midst of the 87th. As we all know, the Texas legislature. One of the things the Hogg Foundation has been working on within our parameters. We're part of University of Texas at Austin, so we can't lobby, but we can provide support. We can do policy briefs. We convene. We bring. We do op-eds, things of that nature. And so I want to bring up to members' attention, especially our new commissioners, wanting to stand up an Office of Forensic Services to really coordinate cross-agency efforts at HHSC. I think it'd be so fabulous if we could get that done this 87th. To me, it speaks to what Mike was kind of alluding to with the hospital redesign. It's about continuity of care. Having an office of that caliber would be really great. Many of you that are on this call late last year was part of the convening we brought together of stakeholders. The Joint Commission on Access and Forensic Services were there, commissioners from the commission, representatives from the redesign committees from Austin State Hospital and San Antonio State Hospital, and also some judges and other key stakeholders. It also would be just, I think, important as we work to implement and support the Intercept model as we implement it, but also as we continue to modify it and make it even better over the course of time. I think it really puts Texas on the map in respect to then really providing true forensic services for all. Secondly, the other area that the Hogg Foundation is supporting is the creation of an Office of Health Equity at HHSC. We see this as really an issue of quality of care. We've seen, unfortunately, how the pandemic has affected our communities of color, but also our rural communities. Every community has been impacted, but some, unfortunately, more than others. Once again, an office of such caliber could really coordinate cross-agency efforts because it really, in this day and age, really takes multi-systemic approaches to really do what we want to do, which is eliminate disparities and ensure good quality of care for all of our Texans and achieve health equity. And we could identify and eliminate these barriers that are preventing us from allowing good health care for all. And third, President appointed me to the COVID-19 Health Equity Task Force at the national level. So this is a White House task force that is being supported by the Office of Minority Health at HHS. And we are currently looking at all the issues that are truly impacting all our communities across Texas, but across the nation as well, in reference to the disparities and the gaps that we're seeing in ensuring that all of us are going to be healthy and fighting against this pandemic. Communities of color have been hit very hard. We all know that, but also our rural communities. Once again, I really want to point out how hard our rural communities have been hit. And so I'm bringing this to the attention of the commissioners because if any of you have any thoughts or ideas, especially as it relates to our incarcerated populations, be they at a jail or a state, prison setting, or how you're seeing the communities being affected with the in your court system. Please reach out. Want to get as much as I can. I'm the only Texan on the task force, so I want to represent all of us well, and I'll do my best. But I need your voice to help me to make sure I'm getting across what they need to hear about. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Justice Bland. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez, and thank you for all the good work that you're doing at the Hogg Foundation. Next, Honorable Stacy Matthews, who's a judge in Williamson County.
Good morning. Congratulations, Dr. Martinez. That's fantastic. And Kevin, I knew you were going to pass. But I'm going to try to keep it sort of brief because I know we're on a time frame and our time schedule. I have the honor of being reappointed. Thank you for those of you that had any influence on that. I appreciate it. What I've learned over since serving on this commission is there's a couple really important pieces. Collaboration and education have been sort of my takeaways. The collaboration of this group is just phenomenal. I've been able to take things back into my county. I've had people reach out to us about what we're doing. And I think just this group, just the level of folks on this group with their knowledge. I've reached out to several of you when I've needed, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And so I really appreciate the collaborative effort and the expertise in this group. Also, I'm a former educator, so education is really important to me. And I want to say, I think we need to kind of give the commission led by Christy a big pat on the back. The last summit was incredibly well attended. I know that the minute the notice comes out about the summit in our county, everybody's scrambling to sign up and get the day off or the days off. And so I think that education piece, I know Judge Hervey, that's really important to her. And I think we need to be proud of what we've done between the bench book and the education. I think that it's just taking a moment to really look back over the last, I guess, 3 or 4 years. I'm just honored to have been a little tiny part of that. For those of you that don't know me, I am the district judge in the 277th District Court. I also have general jurisdiction. We divide up, however, so I do any criminal cases, and I also do, I'm our juvenile judge. So I really try to bring a juvenile perspective as much as I can to this this group, although Judge Wheelis is really the expert on that. One of the things that we've done in our county, and this commission has really helped in guiding us, is, you know, we brought the SIMS model in and did that as a county, and we really looked at some diversion programs. I'm running a transformative justice docket, which is for young adults ages 17 to 24 in the justice system. And what we're finding is the vast majority of them, mental health is the reason they're there, right? That's, you know, obviously their brains aren't developed and they're making some bad choices, but we're diverting them. And so it's sort of we have a mental health docket, but again, like many, they're post-adjudication. This is a true pre-adjudication, true diversion docket. And it's something I'm really proud of that we're working on in our county. We also do trauma-informed care with our juveniles, and that's something that we've sort of taken the lead on. And again, that's folks besides me that have really reached out and done that. But again, we're able to really divert juveniles. We're seeing a lot of things happening at the front end. And again, the overarching, what we've seen in just since we really looked at it is mental health is almost always at the crux of why these folks are in front of us, whether it's mental health within a parent and that's affecting the juvenile, or if the juvenile themselves are having some mental health needs. So those are kind of the things that I bring to the table like I said, I'm honored to serve with the rest of you who are just experts in all these different areas. And it's a true honor for me serve with you all. If there's anything I can ever do in terms of those areas, that's kind of what I bring. But I'm just honored to be here and proud of the work that this commission has done so far under the great leadership of Judge Hervey and Justice Boyce and Justice Bland. And so welcome to all our new commissioners, and I'm thrilled to be back.
All right, and next we'll hear from Beth Mitchell, who's Senior Attorney at Disability Rights Texas. And if there has been a committee meeting that this commission has had over the last 2 years, Beth has been at it, really adding value with her expertise in disability rights.
Thank you, Judge Bland. And I am also honored to be reappointed to this commission. I think I do bring a little bit of a different perspective to the group. I've worked at Disability Rights Texas, previously Advocacy Incorporated, for the past couple of decades. And that agency is a federally funded agency that was meant to protect and advocate persons with disabilities. And we have the unique role of being able to go into facilities and jails and other places unescorted to really identify what some of the issues are and what some of the problems may be as you go through those facilities. And so, so through the years, I think, you know, I've worked diligently on trying to ensure that the civil code and the forensic code have ensured that people that with disabilities, that their rights are not forgotten as we go through this system. And I think, you know, and thankful for the committees and the subcommittees that this commission has had. I think that, you know, really have developed a lot of legislation that will protect both the individual and better the system for people with disabilities, which I think is really important. And I know a lot of people think of me as the naysayer or the pain in the side of everybody. But, you know, I really, you know, although I think everybody does great jobs, and, you know, I've told, you know, I have great working relationships with people at HHSC and lots of different entities. that is my job. It is to poke holes at the places where there are still issues, and to try to encourage and move people towards the direction of trying to fill those holes. So, you know, I try to provide that through education and trying to have people understand where I'm coming from. I think sometimes I'm a little dogged in that approach, but hope, you know, but my hope is that I continue to really help with to ensure that people who aren't at the table, the people who don't have a voice, are being protected. And I think one of the other unique roles that I have here is that I also work with people with intellectual disabilities quite a bit in my work, and so I bring that perspective that often gets sidetracked as we discuss these issues related to people with disabilities. So, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Beth. And there is no doubt in Christy or me or Judge Hervey's mind that we always come up with a better product with your participation in everything that we're working on. So really, we tremendously value your input. Thank you. We are not that far away from finishing introductions, but we're going to take a little break from introductions to get a legislative update from David Slayton, who all of you know is the head of the Office of Court Administration and is being pulled in about 1,000 different directions and has been over the last year. And we're very delighted that he's here to share his valuable time with us to give us that update. He's got to be somewhere else a little bit later when he was on our agenda, so we're gonna take him out of order. I just want to mention just everything that David has been doing. He has coordinated the judiciary's pandemic response. He has been instrumental in developing the legislative agenda for the Judicial Council, including the work that came out of this commission. And he is just always just willing to lend a hand on an individual basis to any judge who needs help. The Supreme Court issued our 36th emergency order last week, which talks about how we're going to protect court participants as we gravitate toward more in-person proceedings. And within hours of signing that order, David had recorded an hour-long webinar explaining the order and answering judges' questions that was available to every judge across the state. And that's just the kind of like go-to outside the box thinking that we have in him. So I just have to tell you all how grateful we all are to have David. And with that, David, I'll let you give us a little bit of an update.
Thank you very much, Justice Bland, for that nice introduction. I appreciate it. And I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to work with so many great judges, court staff, clerks who've given so much during the pandemic, and many of the rest of you who've served tirelessly for years to work on mental health. I'm just going to give you a brief update today. I know you have a lot on your agenda about where things stand with the legislature, and there is late breaking news, which I want to make sure you all are aware of. As you know, we've been working to get the commission's legislative recommendations put into bills that can be heard by the legislature. And I just want to give you, there are 3 bills that you should be following. There's probably more than 3 bills you should be following, but 3 specifically related to your recommendations. So in your legislative research task force recommendations, there were 11 recommendations 1 through 11. Those are contained, currently filed this morning in Senate Bill 1739. All 11 recommendations are in that bill. That bill is filed by Senator Zaffarini, and Representative Moody will be filing the House version as well today. So all 11 of those recommendations from the Legislative Research Task Force are in that one bill. Your recommendations from the task force related to emergency procedures, you had, I don't have the number of recommendations, I can look real fast, but you had several recommendations. Recommendations 2, 3, and 4 are in Senate Bill 1511 and House Bill 3977, filed by Senator Zaffarini and I believe Moody, but I need to look real fast to make sure. It's also filed by Representative Moody as well. And then there is a portion of it, of your recommendations, I believe it's recommendation 2 from the task force related to emergency procedures, contained in what we refer to as the courts omnibus courts creation bill. It's the bill that has it's related to the judiciary as the caption pretty much. And that bill contains recommendation 2, and that is followed by it's House Bill 3774, followed by Representative Jeff Leach, and the Senate companion, I'm trying to get the number, Senate Bill 1530, followed by Senator Huffman. It's possible, we've talked to both Chairman Leach and Senator Chair Huffman about including additional recommendations in that omnibus bill, or if for some reason some of these get caught up in the process, that they might be included in the omnibus bill. The omnibus bill is one bill that we can usually count on to pass. It has a lot of stuff in it. So if there are issues, that bill may be a vehicle that we end up using. And I think they're open to that if it's necessary, and certainly have included at least one of those recommendations in there to kind of at least have a spot for it. So obviously the work begins now. All those bills we're working on the rest. Pretty much that's almost all the recommendations of the commission, but there are a few outstanding, and we're working with members to try to get those in. There are spots where they could go as the process goes throughout session, but I'm just excited that those bills got filed that have been filed. The work begins now to obviously educate members about them, have hearings on them. Clearly, you all will, some of you will be involved in that process. And when they're set for hearing, I know the commission will let you know, so you can at least watch, if not attend. If they're obviously translating recommendations from the commission to legislative language sometimes results in things that may not be exactly as you intended, or you may have concerns. I would just ask that if you do, please feel free to reach out to the commission staff or to me, and we can work on trying to make those corrections. Since some of these bills, including 1739, were just filed this morning, I've not even had a chance to review them, so we'll need to look at them, but today is the filing deadline. So at this point, it's basically file it and we'll figure out if anything needs to be changed. So if you have concerns, please let us know. We can work on trying to get those things addressed and make it actually address the intent that you all had as well. So anyway, good news to report today. I was hopeful that bill would get filed. We knew it was supposed to be filed either yesterday, today, that had recommendations 1 through 11. I did not want to report to you that those were not filed. So grateful to tell you that they have all been filed, and we'll continue to work on the few that have not been filed. But again, the biggest thing I ask from you is if you would just take a look at them, and if you have concerns, please let us know. We would like to make sure that if there's any concerns, that they be addressed. And that's it, Justice Bland.
Thank you so much, David. Do you have time if anybody has a question or two to answer? Sure. I don't want to crowd your schedule too much.
I do, yeah.
If anybody has a question for David before we let him go, I was going to.
Everybody's going to take it easy on me today.
Okay. Well, you deserve a break. So thank you for all the work that you're doing, and we look forward to hopefully supporting you in moving these bills through, and at the end of the day, that we have some of our recommendations come to legislative fruition.
Yes, David, thank you very much. Run.
We're off to the races.
David's one of the few people that has not gained weight during the pandemic.
No, I don't think he eats or sleeps. No.
I wish that was true. I've been telling everyone I have to get rid of my COVID-19. So
okay. Well, I don't think so, but take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go back and try to finish out these introductions, and I think it's such an important thing for us all to see each other and find out the work that we're doing so that we can make those connections. And it's harder via Zoom. Sorry, Judge Harvey.
Weren't we going to take a break at 10:30?
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's right. Let's take a break and we'll finish out afterward.
How long?
How about 10 minutes?
10 minutes. Okay.
Is that good for everyone? We'll reconvene at 10:45.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Christy, if you could ask the host to let us turn our videos back on.
You should be able to. You just have to click it on your end, I believe.
I did, and it just says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. Now, okay, good. Okay, we're back. All right. Christy and her team have published in the link in the chat box copies of those bills that David Slayton referenced, and we will try to update you on those as they progress through the legislature. All right, we are more than halfway home, and certainly our last round of introductions is not the least at all. We'll start next with Judge Nathaniel Moran from Smith County. He may still be at break. How about Judge Tamara Needles from Travis County?
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. As a first-time commissioner, I'm so pleased to be able to be with everybody who has such a collaborative experience. It's very, very exciting, and thank you, Justice Blaine and Justice Harvey. I really appreciate that. A little bit of background about myself is that I am the 427th District Court Judge in Travis County, which is an exclusively criminal court of jurisdiction. And prior to that, I was a school teacher as well as a criminal defense attorney for almost 20 years. And so the experience that I had in that time really meant that I felt like I was boots on the ground, as we've heard talk about, like you were really one-on-one helping folks. I mainly represented those that are indigent and with mental health issues, as well as behavioral health issues, substance use. And so that was so very rewarding to me, and saw the bigger need to do it as a judge, that's why I ran. It's funny though, because sometimes when you do that, you go, wait a minute, I really did enjoy the one-on-one that I miss being with those folks and helping them in that sense. And so it's been kind of bittersweet to me to have been on the bench now and then helping the greater good. I sometimes miss the one-on-one interactions, but am so pleased to be able to be a part of this bigger collaborative. And the work that we're doing in Travis County, which I've heard from David Evans, as well as some others regarding the ASH redesign, and I'm on that steering committee, is that we are making a difference not only for Travis County, looking at diversion centers and reentry centers, either be big or small, depending upon funding, but that collaborative along with the diversion that we have in our courts. We have an exclusively mental health court that our Judge Grizzard, magistrate judge, runs. We've made really huge strides and want to continue those efforts as we can. And I think honestly, the notes that I've taken this morning that I keep writing down from everybody is going to be a big help for Travis County as well as for the rest of the state. So I very much appreciate the opportunity to be with you all, and look forward to hearing more and learning more and helping more. So thank you.
Thank you, Judge Needles. And next, another returning commissioner, Judge Roxanne Nelson, and from Burnett County. And she and Judge Matthews have been, so helpful in lots of our committee work. So welcome this morning.
Thank you so much, Justice Bland. And thank you and Judge Hervey for inviting me back again. Truly heartfelt thanks for being able to participate in this. And this all started years ago by meeting Christy Taylor at an indigent defense event where she said, I need you to come and talk to some people. And I did not realize it was going to be that joint rare meeting between the courts where I would be speaking with some people. So I'm very appreciative. I do serve right now as Justice of the Peace Precinct 1 in Burnett County, but I also wear the hat of being the county's representative on the board for Bluebonnet Trails Community Services, our local mental health authority. And I'm so encouraged, Dr. Keller, by the news of the funding that will be coming to Texas to help continue the programs we already have in place, but hopefully to expand some of the programs to serve all of those that are in need in our communities, especially the rural counties. who still are lacking in resources. So what do I bring to this? Well, on a personal level, I bring that I grew up with a family where my parents suffered from mental illness, and my experiences were those of family violence, substance abuse, the basic necessities, instability, and just a general lack of any kind of safety or peace. And so I bring those personal experiences into my professional perspective as magistrate. So prior to being JP, for 6 years, I was the full-time Burnett County Magistrate. My office was in the booking department. And one of the things I wish I could bring to you is the sound of that jail door as it slams shut when people are brought into that booking department. And it's a literal and figurative slamming of a door on the lives of people who suffer from mental illness. They then begin that long journey of being trapped in our criminal justice system with very little help. And it's heartbreaking. But what I want you to know is that I also understand, as that magistrate, the ripple effect that this starts to have on these people's lives. And mostly, I want you to know that we should not be incarcerating people simply because they suffer from a mental illness or an intellectual disability, and there's nowhere else to take them, because that is still happening in our jails, whether anyone likes to admit it or not. I am so thankful that we now have Judge Liston on the commission who understands what's happening there. I'm not saying that no one else understands what's happening at our jails, but when we're visiting those jails and when we're seeing these people in these situations, it's heartbreaking, and we know we need to do better. One thing that I have to make everybody understand is that those that are determined to be incompetent are languishing in our county jails. Some in our county jail spend more than 500 days in the jail from the time of that early identification or that Article 1622 kicks in and we're sending out that order until they receive a bed for hospitalization in a state facility. That is heartbreaking. And in a lot of cases, they're not receiving any treatment, zero treatment while they're in that county jail. And so we have to do better. We have to make changes. I hope this commission can help to make the changes that substantially and positively impact the lives of the individuals that are suffering from mental illness and IDD diagnoses in our communities. I hope we can prevent them being brought to jail because there's nowhere else to take them. I hope we can change the community's attitudes that this individual doesn't belong in the community because they're wandering around the community, they're homeless, they don't look like they fit in, they're disheveled. So let's call the police and pick them up and take them to the jail so they're out of sight, out of mind. I think along with removing the stigma of mental illness, we need to change those attitudes of they shouldn't be my problem. And again, I just want them to be out of sight and out of mind. Let's try to do better. Thank you again for letting me be part of this commission.
Thank you, Judge Nelson, for those observations, and welcome back. Okay, next is Denise Onken, who has not only spoken at some of our summits, but also has really given us lent a lot of her expertise from the Harris County experience and helping us spread the word about how to improve mental health experience across the state. So good morning and welcome, Denise.
Thank you, Justice Bland and Judge Hervey. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to serve again on the commission. And, you know, as my colleagues from Houston and Harris County say, sometimes we're from the biggest, not always the best. We have our problems there, but I think we've made some great strides and great inroads. And I'm so glad to see my colleagues on the commission from Harris County, Mike Lee, Wayne Young, Justice Boyce. Thank you all so much for the collaboration. And as Judge Matthews, who used to work with me in Harris County at the DA's office, said, collaboration and education is so important. So just a little bit about me. I'm a longtime prosecutor. So honored to be here with all of the judges and my mental health colleagues. 35 years coming up on. And you're like, oh my gosh, how could she do that long? A very large organization provides you the opportunity to have a lot of excitement on a daily basis. And just when you think you've heard it all, seen it all, learned it all, oh no, there's something new tomorrow. So that's what's kept me invigorated for almost 35 years. And I hate to say that because then people do the math of how old she really is. So anyway, super honored to be here. I just want to take a moment to just talk that I have, talk about our mental health diversion that we've done in Harris County. I've talked to colleagues across the state and the country about it. We're so proud. I think Wayne Young can give us the exact figures, but I think we're between 3,500 to 4,000 pre-charge individuals that we have diverted, low-level offenders, nonviolent offenders from the criminal justice system. We've gotten some, Wayne Young gets them at the door over at the diversion center. Those individuals are not charged with a criminal case, and he's got some great success stories. And we love it when we see those individuals get some great mental health help and we don't see them again in the criminal justice system. So that's a win-win for all sides. We've done some other great things in Harris County. Listening to our partners at HHSC. Thank you, shout out to Chris Lopez, one of the attorneys there, big help always. Our outpatient competency restoration program, our jail-based competency restoration programs. These are all new to Harris County. And so we continue to move forward with those things. And thank you to my colleagues across the state, those who started OCR and JBCR before we did. Thanks for helping us out and give us ideas on how to move that forward. And certainly my colleagues in law enforcement and Wayne Young over at the Harris Center for Mental Health and IDD. Wayne, we couldn't do it without you. So I want to thank certainly all the commissioners who have served. I want to thank the judges and the legislators, David Slayton, for doing a good job to move those initiatives forward. I know how much work that is, and just happy to be here and serve in whatever we can do from the prosecution end to help with training and just getting the word out. We're here for the commission. So thank you for the opportunity again.
Thanks, Denise. The Harris County DA's office has just made such great strides. And so we often call on them to share their expertise and they never say no. So thank you, Denise, and to everyone at the DA's office, your team, for all of your work. And I'm delighted to welcome her counterpart from Dallas County District Attorney Lee Pearson to our commission.
Thank you, Justice Bland, and thank you, Judge Hervey, for inviting me. It's a great honor to be part of this commission. I really appreciate it. And before I get started telling me a little bit about me, I wanted to say thank you to Denise and Wayne and everyone in Harris County. We made a tour there a couple of years before the pandemic and observed their Ed Emmett Deflection Center, and Judge Creuzot came back to Dallas and has been pushing for that in Dallas County. And we've been working, and multiple county partners have been pushing greatly. And it looks like, even in spite of the pandemic, we may have a soft opening for that in September of this year. So we're making progress. So thank you for your help and working with us so much when we came down there. That was much appreciated. A little bit about me. I've been with the Dallas DA's office for since 2011. I started in the misdemeanor diversion court and had been a lawyer for 16 years before that, but I immediately kind of fell in love with the mental health aspects of it because I like the collaboration. I like the things that we do. Everything everyone's talked about on here is so true. Since that time, I've been able to work on the outpatient competency restoration courts that we have. We have 2 felony judges in Dallas that have a felony outpatient plan and a misdemeanor court as well as a JBCR program. I've worked on the insanity docket. We have 2 judges that have an outpatient docket for individuals who've been found not guilty by insanity. And we have the whole purpose of kind of the mental health division in Dallas is to get individuals there who are identified early on in the jail, and we're trying to get to where it's almost immediate. and reach out to their attorneys, reach out to the care coordinators that we have now assigned through the North Texas Behavioral Health Authority and MetroCare, and some of our service providers that are available to the mental health division, so we can reach out and get people out of jail quickly and get them connected with services. And we try to tailor make a program for each individual. For someone, it might be 3 months. For someone, it might be 24 months. That once we get them out, if they're doing well, engaged in service, that case is dismissed with the mindset of, we have people that are in jail that don't need to be there. They have a mental health issue. They don't need to be in the system. If the system were as it should be, we would have services for them on the front end and they wouldn't have to come in, kind of like everyone's talked about here. So I guess that's kind of what, not just me, my mental health team, if you will, brings to the table, is just the varied experiences that we do. So I'm really honored to be here. I'm looking forward to being part of this group and all the great work that you do, and I appreciate it.
Great. Next is James Rasmussen, who's the other side of the docket. He's from the Wichita County Public Defender's Office.
Thank you, Justice Bland and Judge Hervey. I am new and I appreciate having a chance to serve with all the marvelous people that I'm hearing about this morning. I've always had a keen interest in mental health. I've represented primarily from representing people in both civil and criminal proceedings. And a number of years ago when I took this position, one of the early things I did was to get some money, and I was lucky enough to get some money from the Indigent Defense Commission to have a full-time mental health case manager, and she's been on board for a number of years. And last year, our office was lucky enough to get a staff dedicated to diversion, pretrial diversion. And so we have now 5 people that are, mental health is one of their major things to divert people out of the system, like Mr. Pearson talked about before me, and we're very excited about that. So I have a strong interest in that. But I've also, you know, my background is for more than 20 years, I represented people on civil commitments, but also have tried cases involving incompetency and insanity before a jury, and also had for a number of years did post-conviction work on death penalty involving Atkins claims. That's IDD claims is what they call it now, but I started before that. So I have a broad background and a strong interest, and I hope to share my perspective, but more than anything, I hope to learn from each one of you, because I see the diversity here, and it's much appreciated from my side of the docket, which sometimes gets overlooked, and we have a very difficult job, and my staff has a difficult job. So I hope by associating with you folks and meeting you in person sometime after this COVID thing is completely over, that we might get together and I'll even learn more. Thank you.
That's terrific, and welcome. Next, Judge Renee Rodriguez Betancourt from Hidalgo County, welcome.
Thank you, Justice Bland and Judge Hervey. It is an honor to be serving on this commission. Christmas came twice for me this year. One, when I received the juvenile mental health bench book, which was something that was so needed, in not only in our area, but just throughout the state of Texas. And I know Judge Wheelis had a lot to do with that, and I just commend her, and I am always admire her work in the juvenile justice system and also the child welfare court system as well. My name is Renee Rodriguez Betancourt. I am the judge of the 449th District Court here in Hidalgo County, the Rio Grande Valley. My court is exclusively a juvenile court. I am starting my second term, or I started my second term, but again, I am just honored because unfortunately I've seen so many issues of mental health in regards to the children that have come before me. When I took the bench, I knew there had to be changes made. I became a little more vocal than what we were supposed to be, but I wanted everyone to know some of the issues that our children, not only in our area, but in the state of Texas, face, from having issues with trauma to, again, mental health. And in our area, a lot of times the stigma in our culture is we don't talk about it, we don't address it. And so it is something that I've continued to fight and something to advocate for. And so to be part of this commission is a huge honor, and it's something that I can take back to my jurisdiction, the Rio Grande Valley, and I'm very happy to be representing them as well. Again, I don't have much to say other than I'm excited to learn, I'm excited to collaborate, and I'm excited to give you my input as well as to what I see every day. I do preside over every juvenile detention hearing along with all my juvenile adjudication cases. So I think I've seen every that we can address, and I hope that I provide some valid input for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. And the vision test for me today, her background says, be strong-minded and always think that the impossible is possible, which is great for a great slogan for our work. Thank you for joining us. And next is Professor Brian Shannon, who is a long time, been with us since the beginning, a champion of the Judicial Commission on Mental Health. And in addition to his own work in the mental health space, he has truly trumpeted the work that we do in lots of different places, including in a law review article. And he and Justice Boyce have really brought the academic leadership to our commission. And we're so glad to have you, Professor Shannon.
Thanks so much, Justice Bland, and appreciate having the chance to continue to serve. Like Adrian and Judge Nelson and many of you, my interest in the area came about because I had a family member, a younger brother with serious mental illness, and it changed not just his life, but our whole families. And my mom, a lot like Adrian, ended up retiring as a school teacher and becoming a full-time advocate, and was president of NAMI Texas in its older name of Texami, and then president of NAMI National. And my dad was very involved with the Concho Valley MHMR system. And so a lot of what I've had the chance to follow, and the nice thing about being an academic and having expectations about doing research is I could pick the topics I wanted to be involved in. And so policy and research have been important. Great to see a lot of new faces among the group who were in some of my classes back in the day as well. For those of you who are new, I think this is a tremendous group and organization. Everyone's so collegial, everybody's mutually supportive. I've never had a single person tell me no when I've asked for help, whether it be a speaker or for advice or guidance. And so what my encouragement to the rest of you is to reach out to one another or in larger groups, because together I think we can make improvements in the system. Many years ago, even long before I came to Lubbock, the late great Molly Ivins once wrote that Lubbock is the land of wide open spaces and tiny narrow minds. And I thought it was funny at the time. I wish Molly were still around to see us, at least what we're doing as a community in mental health. Just like a lot of the rest of you and the efforts in your communities or in your courts. We've had some great opportunities with Beth Lawson's leadership at Star Care, with the involvement of the judges, the police department, the sheriff's office, the two major hospitals, having Meadows come in and assist us in trying to put together our community needs assessment, and then building on that to try and build a better system of care for persons whom we serve and better judicial processes. So we'll be reaching out for your great ideas. And I hope it's a testament to your successes that people will want to steal your ideas. So thanks again.
Thank you, Professor Shannon. Look forward to continuing to build together with you. Next, Shelley Smith from West Texas Centers.
Yes, let me first say what an honor it is to be on this commission. I really do appreciate the invitation. As Beth had said earlier, I cover a 23 county area of probably some of the most remote parts of Texas. I'm out in West Texas. And my passion is forensic mental health. We I believe in the collaboration between the Sheriff's Department and the local mental health authority. I think that it all starts there with working together. I'm a firm believer in the mental health deputy programs because we've seen where we've diverted a lot of people that would have ended up in jail that ended up in treatment services instead. I believe in the jail-based caseworker model, where we've got caseworkers implanted in the jail that work on continuity and making sure that pre and post release that people have that continuity so they don't just show right back up in jail again. So I'm all about diversion. I've been on the Joint Committee on Access and Forensic Services since its first iteration a number of years ago, and I've been in the field of mental health for 35 plus years. And I also believe that even though you might be in one little county and just have a couple of officers in that county, that work can be done for the betterment of the people that we serve. And I'm like Judge Nelson. I don't like the idea of anyone languishing in the jail without treatment. So we try to get in there and provide treatment even if they are in the jail, so that they can get better and have a better experience. And then the other thing that I'm real passionate about is the statewide waiting list for forensic services. I love seeing those numbers go down because that means more people are getting the treatment that they need. So anyway, I want to thank you for allowing me to participate, and I hope I can learn and help.
Great, wonderful. Next, Chief Stan Standridge, who is the head of the Texas Police Chiefs Association.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do 2 conference calls at once. Let me move this. So I'm also on another mental health call related to Texas Police Chief's business. So my name is Stan Standridge. I'm the current police chief in San Marcos, Texas. After having retired from Abilene, I did 26 years in Abilene. That does not qualify me to serve alongside you. What qualifies me is my role within the Texas Police Chiefs Association. I'm the current president, and I established the Mental Health Pathways Committee. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to reduce the reliance on 911 for mental health services. And so all morning I have heard about trying to refine the judiciary to make us more effective. I would submit to this group that we need to move further upstream to mitigate the number of clients entering into the criminal justice system to begin with. And so that is what we are trying to accomplish. We are trying to close the proverbial front door associated with persons entering criminal justice. When I began this process in Abilene right at 6 years ago, when I was chief there, we did an audit of the Taylor County Jail and learned that 37% of all inmates had a mental health diagnosis, 37%. And so we began a years-long process to more robustly pursue Intercept 1 and true jail diversion. And so I am excited about working with you all to close that proverbial front door, which will hopefully help lessen all of your workload. Again, my name is Stan Standridge with the Texas Police Chiefs Association. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. You're absolutely right about it begins on the front end. Honorable Charles Stevens, Comal County Court of Law number 2.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Justice Bland and Judge Hervey. I really, this is my first time on the commission, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the commission. I was on the Collaborative Council originally, and I enjoyed that very much. I met some really great people, look forward to working with them also, continue to work with them. I will kind of echo your comments, Professor Shannon, with regard to West Texas. I know how you feel. I grew up in Odessa, which is just west of Midland. Midland is the town with the best place to raise children, and Odessa was named as the place to raise hell. So I understand when it comes to mental thinking, apparently people like to attack West Texas. I'm not sure why, but Anyway, so I've been a county court judge here in New Braunfels, Comal County for a little over 17 years now. And one of the things that you realize during the course of not only practicing law, but being a court and seeing people is, as everyone here has discussed, all the mental health cases that come before you that are passed on as something else. And it's very frustrating, and it's certainly great that we're taking the time now to work on that and try to develop resources and provide services to those people that need it, as opposed to, as others have said, placing them in jail and doing other things that do not help them and certainly don't help our society. Recently, about 6 years ago, I started the Veterans Treatment Court, and I tell people that that's not only the most rewarding part of what I do, but it's also the most difficult because of the time we spend with those people. The only frustrating thing about it really is that we can't expand that, and I think that's probably what we're trying to do here, expand those type of resources to other people on a much broader basis, and it's certainly helpful to be able to do that. And in that vein, I can tell you, because of the commission, and especially with help from Christy and Patrick, Comal County, the Commissioners Court yesterday approved the vendor for our Community Resource Referral Program, of which the Commissioners Court, or the Commissioners, excuse me, this commission approved the grant funding for that project. And so I think we're well on our way to working with the company. It's Signify Health, to develop our referral program, which will really, I think, impact Intercept 1 or maybe even Intercept 0, and catch those people hopefully before they get into the criminal justice system. Although we're working, and we'll be in touch with Judge Carr, Judge DuBose, and others of you who have mental health courts. And as we develop our mental health court, we anticipate a mental health court that serves not only those who are in the civil justice system, but also have come in through the criminal justice system. I don't have much else to say. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm really honored to be on the commission. I'm looking forward to the experience. And once again, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Judge Stevens. And if we needed a burst of energy for our last introduction, we have it, because Judge Cynthia Wheelis is next up.
Thank you, Justice Bland. And I cannot thank you and Judge Hervey enough for allowing me to continue as a commissioner. It was my great honor to serve as your appointed commissioner, and also Justice Boyce. I want to thank Christy Taylor for her hard work and allowing me to serve as commissioner as well. I also want to genuinely thank Justice Bland, Judge Hervey, Justice Boyce, and the commission for allowing a genuine focus on juvenile delinquency. I cannot thank you enough for that morning at the last summit, as well as our ability to work as a committee on the juvenile bench book. Just a little bit about my background, because just catching up everyone from the last time, and welcome all the new commissioners, and I'm delighted to work alongside of some lived experience. And I think all of us, well, I can speak for myself, my family, extended family, has been touched by all manner of mental health, developmental disability, addiction, and on and on. So I want to tell you that I genuinely come from a background of experience, a wealth of experience. A little bit about me: after a brief stint in Dallas Big Law, I went to work for my husband in Plano, which actually worked out well. Justice Bland knows Ray really well. I think that he was a tough taskmaster, but no tougher experience can be had by any lawyer in private practice that as it compares to big law. So I represented any citizen with any issue that they could come with to our office. It was 1993. And in those days, people were not as specialized as they are today. So I was able to include juvenile respondents, criminal defendants, proposed patients facing mental health commitments. And then I was appointed as later appointed as a mental health associate judge for our probate court, where I got to see what Kevin Garrett pointed out, a really important thing that has evolved in the law of mental health, and that is that the third prong was rarely ever met by the case law. That is, you could be a danger to yourself or others. You could, I'm forgetting the second prong, but the third prong was, if left to your own devices, you would devolve and not be able to take care of yourself. I think this group of people here on our commission and our collaborative council have driven this area so far forward and progressed it so much and professionalized it so much that we have the ability to allow treatment for those that used to, we couldn't commit them and their families would suffer, meanwhile trying to show them respect that they can make their own decisions. And this is a group, this population of mental health patients, they're very, very smart people. I've had the most incredible conversations and even debates with my mental health clients. So I just think that this group of people are driving the ball down the field. We're getting touchdowns in so many areas. In my court, we have specialty courts, and Judge Carr is a leader in that field. I just want to give a shout out. I think all of us are basically evolving in our ability to conceive of a creative judiciary where in these specialty court realms. So we have a juvenile drug court, we have a juvenile GEMS court, which is our child sex trafficking court, which is trauma informed. And then we have, in conjunction with the governor's office, we have a see it, treat it, divert it court, which is entirely diversionary, but it is based on the see it tool, which is a West Coast Children's Clinic determining whether or not you have been sex trafficked, because no kid believes that they are sex trafficked. And then we're starting our mental health, intellectual and developmental disability specialty court at the end of this month. We've been a little bit delayed. We've got our grant in place and all of but our program director suffered a severe loss of a family member. I also want to tell you that I am involved on a Collin County Behavioral Health Commission, or coalition, and that is under the leadership of a man named Dana Bickford, and 3 hospital systems and the Plano ISD, also the Grant Halliburton agency. So I couldn't really be complete without thanking some of the people who have contributed. The juvenile bench book would not have happened without the Herculean efforts of Molly Davis. And our committee were genuine, sincere contributors, the collaborative committee members, as well as the commission members. We used the sincerest form of flattery and copied Judge Dubos's committee to the letter, and then just tailored it to juvenile delinquency. And those juvenile bench books that Judge Betancourt, I'm grateful for her comments. They're so sweet, and I admire her as well. And Judge Matthews was involved as well in the juvenile bench book. We've tried to put some equity focus to try to attack this disproportionality we're still seeing in the juvenile justice system, which was, I'm grateful, approved by the commission to be added. At some subjective intercept points, we're putting in equity thoughts and analysis, and we're also obviously tailoring it to the adolescent brain development, and because of Judge Matthews, trauma-informed relation intervention with juveniles. So again, thank you. The book is available on the website. Thank you, Justice Bland and Judge Hervey.
Thank you, Judge Wheelis. And I'm remiss because I didn't flip the page and I was about to overlook our Y and Z commissioners. So Wayne Young with the Harris Center, are you on?
I am here. Good morning. And
Morning.
BNY and Z in the alphabet, it's a lifelong history of that. It's
Sorry.
not at all. It's an honor for me to be here. It's great to get to see friends and colleagues and mentors and even a few heroes in this group. It's certainly an esteemed group. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an LPC by training. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I also readily identify as a person with lived experience. I'm in long-term recovery myself. I've had the privilege of being the CEO here at the Harris Center for Mental Health and IDD for the last little over 3 years now, which means I get to lead a team of 2,400 employees focused on reducing the footprint of the criminal justice system in the lives of people with behavioral health and IDD needs, whether that be through regular community services, crisis services, or specific programs designated to throughout the kind of the intercept points that are out there. I had the good fortune of joining an agency that has a 30-year history of collaboration with the criminal justice system, trying to do that very work. And we have lots of programs. There's a couple of dozen of them that range from our 20-year-old co-responder model that we still value to the core program that Mike mentioned earlier when he was in between probably his doses of pain medication is my guess, and was able to sit upright. Pretty impressive. All the way to our jail diversion center we opened and recently relocated it into the midst of a respite rehab and reentry center, which is an even bigger component that really not only aligns some of the mental health and criminal justice pieces, but adds that intersection of a lot of those individuals who are experiencing homelessness as well, as a part of the circumstances and complexities in their lives. And so I heard David's challenge earlier, and I will say I try and be as good at following as I do at leading, and look forward to David's innovations, and I will happily steal any good idea you come up with, David. As evidenced by that, on Monday, we started our pilot of non-law enforcement response to 911 calls with HPD. So we've long had our crisis clinicians embedded in our 911 call center here in Houston. And so now we've added the additional mix of being able to deploy our folks in response to that, as opposed to law enforcement having to go out and be a part of that. So I look forward to this, and I had already looked and saw that there's a Z and feeling some sense of solidarity with April. I will stop and let her introduce herself.
Well, and there's also a W that I wasn't sure was in attendance, but he's here. Brandon Wood, who's the Executive Director of the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. And really so glad you're here. We know what an important partner you are going to be in our work for years to come. So thank you for joining us, Brandon.
Thank you, Judge Bland. I think that everybody recognizes the role that unfortunately our county jails play in this very difficult environment in which we operate. And, I would most definitely echo Commissioner Maples' words in that there is still a lot of work to do. Also believe that Dr. Fabello or Dr. Fabulous, whichever one he wants to go by, mentioned Rome not being built in a day, but a lot of times due to the fact that I interact with over 200, we have 238 county jails and privately operated facilities across the state. We get a wide range of feedback in regards to the different levels of services being provided to inmates with mental health issues. And I believe the chief a while ago mentioned that 38% of the inmates in Taylor County had a mental health diagnosis. And unfortunately, that is about average across the state. And if we can't have more of an impact and prevent our county jails from being the de facto mental institutions of our time, then I'm afraid that we'll be seen as simply like Nero fiddling while Rome is burning. So I look forward to being able to contribute to this and hope that we do have an impact.
Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. Finally, April Zamora, who is with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice and works on reentry and integration in connection with mental health.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Justice Bland. I also see the Texas Correctional Office on offenders with medical or mental impairments. And within that department, we do reentry for our special needs population and also encompass some jail diversion programs as well as probation and parole aftercare programs. When Beth Lawson said accidental expert, I thought that was the most exceptional way to say it, but Beth Lawson, David Evans, Wayne Young, Shelley Smith. Shelley does some of the most exciting work in her area because when rural caseloads were rolled out, her team decided she was going to roll out some probation work in a very difficult area. So when you look at the local mental health authorities, not only in context of this group, but we have contracts all across the state with every single local mental health authority. So they do all of the continuity of care for people coming out of prison. And then they also service the probation clients that we have on our caseloads. We have $55 million worth of money that goes into mental health care and treatment for those that are high risk, so high criminogenic risk, and then transitional programming for those that have low criminogenic risk. I also see Denise Onken, very pleased to have her as an advisor, gubernatorial appointee to us, and Dr. Tony Tobello that has been alongside of us for so long trying to advise us. But if you've listened to any of the hearings lately, we do have some struggles in Texas. If you were to ask my point of view, as we come across somebody coming out of the county jail, talking to judges, working with people through the Judicial Advisory Committee, we should be looking at probation as that first term option if we have somebody that falls into that high criminogenic risk category, and we want to make an impact and keep them out of our prison system. The two biggest growing populations in the prison system are those that have severe and persistent mental illness and our aging population. But I do think we can make a critical impact on that high criminogenic risk population and treat them within the probation system. If that's a necessity. Wayne Young, some amazing programs in his tenure, just I say small tenure in Harris County. There's some amazing things going on. They have a dually diagnosed residential facility that's funded with the probation department that is exceptional. They have a reentry court that just, if you have an opportunity to go visit, talk to Denise, talk to Wayne, I think you couldn't go wrong. But David Evans has an amazing team that's funding a jail diversion program that I find to be one of the most amazing programs around the state. So we are shuttering prisons. If you can't think of anything else, population during COVID has dropped from about 145,000. We're now sitting at about 117,000. Projections are we'll come back up, but I think this committee could think about a lot of things. And if you were to ask me what my biggest desire would be, is that we don't come back up. We have prisons on idle, and I think we keep them on idle. Let's find a way to do it. Let's use those 1622 assessments, find out what we need to do, where the best place for people to be is. I've talked to Carrie Green over on our probation side of the house. Let's get access to the Judicial Advisory Committee and figure out how we continue to inform our probation committee. And I think we could do some really exciting work together. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ms. Zamora. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Judge Hervey for our abbreviated business meeting today, and we meet again in April. So if we don't get to fully cover something today because of our lengthy introductions, which were great, we'll be sure to pick back up with it in April.
Thank you, Justice Bland. And I'm going to quickly introduce our esteemed Executive Director, Christy Taylor, who's going to quickly move through some of the items we have on the agenda, if not all. She'll touch on as many as she can. In the meantime, I want to congratulate Christy again and again. Christy and her staff do a wonderful job. And for those of you who haven't worked with her yet, you'll find she's easy to get a hold of. She'll help you any way she can. She's got a great staff. And Christy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Judge Hervey. So I am humbled and encouraged to hear all the expertise that you bring. I look forward to meeting with all of you and getting to know you more personally. The JCMH is powered by our strong leadership and also by a fabulous staff. We are going to take the time next meeting to introduce you to all the staff so you can connect the names with faces, and then you'll know who to really thank. I want to start with the budget, which is tab 5, you can scroll down on your PDF to page 27. I know when I learn about a new organization, I want to know what kind of legal entity it is and how are they funded to help me place them. And so the JCMH began in 2018. We are a part of the court system. We are a part of the Supreme Court's funding directly. We receive general appropriation from the legislature that goes through the Supreme Court's budget, and we work in partnership with the Court of Criminal Appeals, and they have a significant mental health and education budget that they lend to this mission and align with this work. So we use that funding toward our strategic plan to fulfill our mission. We have, you'll see staff directed projects, and those are when you think about the legislative work that we're staffing, the one-pagers that we will be writing to help everyone understand these awesome bills that are going forward. We also use that funding for our summit, for our publications, all the bench books you've been hearing about, and we also have a code book that is a continuation of work started by Chris Lopez. So all of those are internal projects that we rely on you to help with, and we keep it moving forward. We also directly grant to local communities. We want to highlight those innovative practices and help people through COVID. If courts reached out to us, initially we have funded technology and software and equipment. Judge Stevens mentioned one of the projects that he's involved in. And I want to announce that we have a grants page now on our website. So if you go to the little hamburger on the right of our website, it drops down the menu and there's a section called Read about any new grants that we might be offering, and also where the former grants have gone to and how they're allocated and how they're used. So if you want to look at tab 6, which is page 29, then you'll see some of those community grants that we were talking about and how those have been spent and how the reporting is going on that. So next, I would direct you to tab 4, which is page 18 of the PDF. And this is our commission report. Because we are short on time today, anything that we don't reach, you can go, especially if you're new, and look and read about what committees you can join, what projects we're working on. And it's really a bird's eye view of those projects. I'm hoping at the next meeting we can take more time and go more detail into the projects. But for some brief updates today, we're going to go ahead and start with the Forms Committee, Judge Dave Jan.
Thank you, Christy. The Forms Committee was started out of the Senate Bill 362 task force established in December of 2019. We were tasked with coming up with common forms for emergency detention, the entire civil commitment process, and also the 46B criminal process, with the goal of trying to produce a set of standardized forms that could be used in any county in the state. We met regularly throughout 2020 and continued working at the start of this year. Kind of going quick on time, so before I forget, I want to extend a special thanks to all of the members of that committee, especially Judge Brent Carr, who's the chair of the Senate Bill 362 committee, for entrusting me with the chairmanship of the Forms Committee, Judge Nelda Cassiati, Judge Clay Harrison, Judge Guy Herman, Judge Roxanne Nelson, Judge Robin Ramsey, Melinda Brent, Steve Wolab, and a huge thanks to Molly Davis from the Judicial Commission staff for keeping us all in line and keeping us on track. We've got the forms worked most of the way through related to emergency detention, orders of protective custody, court order of mental health, and IDD services, with IDD services being finished yesterday. Jail and magistration and incompetency, the 1622 section areas, and then the psychoactive medications forms. We're almost 100% complete with those. I think we only have 2 more of those forms to come in, and we will be prepared to submit our full report to the commission in August of 2021. And I believe that's all I have for you, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Judge Jan. We will go next to Judge Camille DeVos for a quick report on the bench book.
Thank you, Christy. It's good to finally see you again. The second edition of our bench book has been very successful, as you heard here today. As you know, the second edition added chapters on competency restoration. This year, we're going to reconvene the bench book committee and finish the sequential intercept model by adding material on insanity, and Intercept 4, which would cover reentry, and Intercept 5, which will cover community corrections. The bench book is available in both electronic and hard copy form. The electronic version can be found on the JCMH website under the Publications tab. We distributed about 500 bench books at the 2019 summit, and since then we've printed 600 additional copies. Most of these copies have been distributed, but you can still get a hard copy of the bench book by sending an email to the jcmh@texcourts.gov. And I think they'll probably post that in the chat in case you need that information. So I look forward to working with everyone again this year and covering those materials that I just talked about. Thanks.
Thank you, Judge DeVos. Next, we were going to hear from Judge Wheelis, but she went ahead and gave her report during her commissioner update because she had a conflict. So we're going to move along to the summit update and hear from Judge Brent Carr.
Thank you, Christy. I'll be very brief. Great summit. We had over 1,500 attendees from pretty much every discipline that touches this issue from across the country, actually. We had many outside of Texas attendees. The response was overwhelming. So basically the attendance shot through the roof. We were very pleased that our special attention to IDD issues was very well received. Dr. Steinberg's presentation, it was over 95% rated as excellent or very good. So we hit a home run with that presentation, which was just wonderful. And as we prepare for the next summit, we will be soliciting your ideas and input. The curriculum committee will start meeting very soon. And in my closing, I also want to thank for the legislation committee. Great job. We got our stuff in on time. Good report from David Slayton that a lot of our proposals are receiving serious attention in the legislature. But Dave Jan, great job. Guy Herman, listen to these two going back and forth. Their depth of knowledge on process and forms is really producing a good result. Nelda Cassiotti for her work on the criminal side. And I also want to commend Molly Davis for her trail boss wrangling of the committee to keep us on point and on track with all the paperwork that we're sifting through. So great job, everyone. We're looking forward to another good summit. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have a quick announcement from Kama Harris, staff attorney for JCMH.
Hi, good morning. So we are already working on the 4th annual Judicial Summit on Mental Health. It's going to be held this year, October 14th and 15th at the Sheraton Georgetown Hotel and Conference Center. And the summit will be in person, but there's also going to be an option to watch it online. However, if you are a speaker, you will need to be there in person. As of February, we asked for a call for proposals, and we encourage you and any of your colleagues to submit abstracts by the April 1st deadline. And we're looking forward to planning this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kama. All right, next we will hear from our jurist in residence, Judge John Spicia.
Oh, thank you, Christy. I've been involved with this since the very beginning, and I was also jurist in residence with the Children's Commission. When you start a commission like this, you don't know what it's going to look like. And sitting here today, listening to the new commissioners and the people that have been involved from the beginning, I think it represents a maturation of this commission and an extraordinary group of people going forward. I'm excited to continue to work as the jurist in residence. I was thinking about what is a jurist in residence. I'm a utility player. I support the work of the commission wherever it's important. I'm involved in the training, technical assistance, and we put out a jurist in residence letter every couple of months, and they are on the website, and we've got those there. you can call me anytime. Sometimes I can help out. Somebody that, was appointed judge by Sam Houston, knows a lot of people in the state of Texas. But I just want to thank Justice Bland and Justice Hervey for their extraordinary leadership. A collaboration like this between our two highest courts is extraordinary and isn't being done anywhere else in the nation. So call me if I can help out. And every one of you, good luck to you. Remember, we collaborate. Call these people. We've got over 40 experts from all across the state. And thank you, Christy.
Thanks, Judge Spisha. And before we close, we're going to have a few words from Dr. Jenny Simpson from HHSC on a pilot project that we are jointly, the JCMH and HHSC are jointly working on together.
Great, thank you, Christy. Good morning. I'm really pleased to be here today with you to provide a brief overview of the Community Diversion Coordinator pilot. HHSC is really excited to be a supporting partner on this project. So the heart of the pilot is the Community Diversion Coordinator that's going to be employed by either a district or county court or an LMHA and serve as a collaborative liaison between the courts, the local mental health authorities, state hospitals, and other key justice, mental health, and community stakeholders. 2 sites will be selected through a request for proposal process. The key responsibilities for the position will be to first identify diversion opportunities an individual may qualify for, and then work collaboratively with partners to appropriately place an individual in a diversion program. Second is to serve as a connection point between courts, jails, the state hospitals, and local mental health authorities for individuals found incompetent to stand trial and in need of restoration services. The coordinator will ensure information flows between those entities and will also be able to identify if an individual qualifies for outpatient or jail-based competency restoration programs. And these may be an appropriate alternative to those inpatient competency restoration services. And finally, the positions to be a boundary spanner and an educator between the criminal justice and mental health systems in the selected communities. The coordinator will be expected to develop and foster collaboration across partners. With this pilot, we're particularly interested in the opportunity to divert individuals by transferring a defendant from a trial court to the appropriate court for court-ordered outpatient mental health services. Both the Judicial Commission and HHSC staff will be actively involved in intensive technical assistance to the pilot sites. This is going to include supporting the selected communities in strategic planning and implementation. An evaluator is also going to be engaged to ensure that we learn from the pilot and capture what works and what doesn't work. Understanding the impact of diversion on public safety is a critical part of this, and the evaluator will be expected to focus substantially on this. Through the evaluation and the intensive technical assistance, we'll be able to translate these findings into actionable resources for the field that will encourage the uptake and spread of these programs. And our responsibility is really to create a concrete blueprint for other communities to create community diversion coordinators that can be tailored to their communities. Briefly, to help guide us in the development of the pilot, we convene an advisory body that's met regularly to provide guidance on the project, as well as a smaller working group that's fleshed out the roles and responsibilities of the community diversion coordinator. Our target release for before releasing the request for proposals is April 19th. Then we'll evaluate the proposals and then make the selection of the 2 sites in June, with the goal of starting the pilot in September. So I want to briefly just end by thanking Christy and her staff for asking HHSC to partner on this project, Justice Bland and Judge Hervey and the executive committees for supporting it, and then the advisory board for their continued guidance. I know that we all share in the hope that this project is going to result in concrete and tangible findings that can be shared across the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson. That concludes the business portion of the meeting. I will turn it back over to Judge Hervey for closing remarks.
Thank you all for participating today. We appreciate not only your interest, but your continued support and willingness to add to all these good projects that are underway. And we look forward to your suggestions and ideas as well. Our next meetings are April 23rd and August 13th. And as those dates approach, we will assess whether the meetings will be in person or virtual. And we look forward to meeting you in person. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.